Hello, and welcome to watch a short tutorial on how to make your scrap yarn into new yarn. My name is Nella, and I'm coming to you from Eastern Finland. So if you are a crafter, like me, so there are some loom ways, there is failed cast-ons, there is a failed measurements of how much you need yarn to cast on, there is weaving in the ends or sewing some seams. You are going to have some scrap yarns left over to store or keep or throw away. So I wanted to experiment to see what would happen. And as you can see, a lot of the yarn in my jar is actually cotton paste. And there's a lot of bamboo and some linen. And yeah, spoiler, that doesn't work. The pure wool that I have, some you can see there's the white one, so it works best. It's also loosely plied, so it's easy. The sock yarns, so you need to work on them a bit more. So you start by cutting the yarn and opening the plies the best you can onto your hand garter. You can also use dog brushes if you don't have hand garters, but of course you get much more fiber processed on a bigger garter. The sock yarns, as I said, were very difficult to open to the from the plies, and the worst possible yarn I felt for this experiment was the merino, cable plied merino yarn. So I have nothing against merino as a fiber, but as you know, a lot of companies actually cable ply their merino yarns for the stretchiness or for the spring. So it is technically twice plied yarn, and to open the inner plies were a nightmare. So I actually ended up throwing some of it away because it just didn't guard. So once you have your fibers loaded to your garters, you start to guard, and there is a lot of great videos on how you can use hand garters. I would say that my hands hurt a lot after finishing this batch, so you might want to consider what's the best working environment for you. So this is how the fluff is supposed to look like once you have guarded your fibers ready. This took maybe 10 minutes, give or take. A little bit less after I took the annoying merino out. But then when I was guarding the red batch where I had a lot of cotton and I had a lot of bamboo and other cellulosic fibers which did not break down at all. So this one took closer to 20 minutes because the cellulose fibers actually hindered also the wool to break down. And this is how the rollac comes off from the garter. And once you have finished all the fiber you are planning to process, so here you can see my beautiful, you can see my really, really ugly and fat rollacs, which you barely can recognize as rollacs. So you can start planning how to spin your new yarn. And I decided for some unknown reason to go with bluish, reddish, bluish, reddish, bluish, reddish, bluish, reddish, bluish. Yeah. And I spun the yarn with my spinning wheel. I know many examples you will see of these videos will show you how to spin this with your hand spindle, and there's nothing wrong with it. Personally, I think hand carded stuff should not be spun on a drop spindle or a support spindle. Hand carders and a spinning wheel are a team. However, I did not count how many blues and greens, blues and reds I had. So when I then emptied the bobbin and made a plying ball, so it's technically a plying bracelet, but it's on a ball because my bracelets are usually not bracelets. So I'm making a 2-ply yarn. So from the ball I just take both ends and start plying. So as I said, it's technically the plying bracelet. After I have the yarn plied, so of course I managed to use all of it. You could wash it, you could soak it, you could hang it to dry, you could wait for, you could finish it the best you want. But I wanted to get to working with this yarn, so I opted not to do any of those things. As I said, I did not count that when I was making a 2-ply yarn, so the blues are starting from the both ends, so it's a self-striping yarn, but it's technically just blue, red, blue, red, blue. So it's not as adventurous as it could be. The textures of the 2-ply were really odd because of course there were fibers that were mixed better and fibers that were not mixed. And as you saw in the single ply photo, so I have some reflective yarn there as well. So especially at the 2-plying section, I had to be sure that I plied those sort of like loose threads into the yarn. And I think that also affected a little bit of the using experience, also, as well as how does it look in the end product. So I made a small knot-bound pouch because, you know, my friends were doing this, so I had to do one. Like you usually, your crafting stylist. I used the Korean stitch, so 1+2 F1, I think. And at the end I just put through a drawstring. There is not even a holes for it or anything, but you can see that the yarn has a lot of texture, and I would not consider this to be well spun. This is an experiment. I took really short time to do this, but also the carding, I would have needed to use much more time guarding this fiber if I wanted it to be nice and neat. But in the end, so I made a pouch, 61 grams. My jar looks exactly as full as it was in the beginning. I mean, of course, it's not because I took plus 61 grams of it because, as I said, I threw some merino away. I just have the one blue loom waist left there. That is sock yarn. Everything else is cellulose fibers. I'm not going to be bothering with them with this type of thing again. And finally, because I think it's important to talk about failed experiments, so I tried to use my blending board for this project first, and it failed miserably. Like, really, it failed. The fibers did not blend at all, so I was just having these strings of yarn, and there was no sort of like fluffing up happening, and I couldn't pull it anyway or anything. So the white parts you can see here, they are added fiber. So yeah, blending board wasn't the tool to go with this. The hand cutters were better. Thank you for watching. See ya!